Hi guys, and welcome to episode 19 of On the DL. Dakoda.
Lan.
And today we are covering, I want to say stretch marks.
Stretch marks.
We were having a conversation about cellulite, and then all I got in my head was cellulite. Stretch marks. Yes. Quite a heated topic. It affects everybody, whether you're male or female. So we definitely want to cover this. Unfortunately, we were speaking about this earlier. There's a lot of, yes, no, maybes. There's a lot of supplements that are meant to help or get rid of, and obviously the emotional side of things. So we kind of want to cover all of that. But Len, do you want to take us through just a little bit of the sciencey stuff, just to explain exactly what it is?
Yeah, well, it's pretty simple on this one. It is what it says it is. So stretch marks occur when the skin is stretched beyond its, I guess, natural limits. So pregnancy, bodybuilding, rapid growth spurts, when someone becomes overweight, but it also happens in reverse. So if you lose weight quickly, those sorts of things can also cause stretch marks because it's just that rapid change. And essentially what's happening is we're damaging the collagen and elastin in the skin. They're going through little periods of degradation, and therefore they're just not as tight anymore, and it creates scarring. So it's kind of, it's fairly simple.
Straightforward. Fairly simple.
Straightforward. Isn't it annoying, though, that something so straightforward is so difficult to resolve, right? Like, we know exactly what's happening, but we have such a tough time actually fixing it. And it's, that's frustrating.
It's probably one of the few things that we actually know exactly how it works, but we can't do anything to fix it. We can definitely improve on it, with the supplements and everything that we've got now, or the treatments, laser treatments, creams, or I saw a collagen protein that was meant to help get rid of stretch marks. It's definitely a little bit confusing what to really do or what to really implement and when. So Len, give us a little rundown of when can we actually get rid of them, if at all?
So it's very, very unlikely that you'll get rid of stretch marks once they turn up, but reducing the severity and how obvious they are is kind of what all the marketing is around. And you'd use different strategies based on how long you've had the stretch marks for, right? So if you're noticing the stretch marks appearing as they're coming up, using things like hyaluronic acid, that collagen protein that you were talking about before, things like retinol creams can definitely be of benefit. So they can reduce the problem because they're actually providing or improving the collagen and elastin in the skin. So if we're doing that whilst the damage is happening, essentially we're kind of, I guess you're just catching up on it. Like you're not gonna necessarily beat it, but you're trying to repair it as the damage is happening. You could also look at things like zinc supplements because they're good for wound healing and all of those sorts of things. So if you're catching these things really, really early on, there's some decent research on things like hyaluronic acid, retinol creams, even actually, what's really interesting? There's some research going on at the moment with glucosamine and these sorts of issues as well. And I'm really intrigued by that. So touch back with me in a couple of months.
We'll update this episode in a few months.
I'm really intrigued. I think it's got some good promise. I think it would be an interesting route to go, particularly because it has other benefits, from other connective tissue issues that it helps treat. Then once these stretch marks have been around for a little while, the body's already kind of gone through its repair mode, right? So it's done what it can to help to repair the scarring. That's when it becomes more difficult for these topical treatments or these little oral treatments to be particularly effective. So once we're getting, 6 to 9 months down the track, I'd say that's when we start to look more towards things like microdermabrasion, laser therapies, those sorts of things that are going to have a much more direct impact. Again, they all sort of still work by similar methods. Causing a little damage to the area allows us to get more blood flow, allows us to get more collagen production, more elastin production. so helps to repair it from that perspective.
Mm.
But it's, I guess, it's like it's the difference between lifting 5 kilos and lifting 50 kilos, right?
It's very minimal. Yeah.
You're not going to build a whole lot of muscle lifting 5 kilos, but you will probably put some muscle on lifting 50 kilos.
It depends what exercise you do. I mean, 5 kilos could hurt a lot.
You get where
5 kilos can be a bitch. No, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like, it's, I think you have to look at you personally and your scars personally, you know, and have they been there for 6 months? Have you just noticed them? You know, and also where do you expect them to get to, and kind of where will you be satisfied with them looking as well?
And I guess the truth is, it's similar to the whole weight loss theory that we've discussed many times before. People think that when they hit their weight loss goal, they're going to immediately be happy. People have the same thought process around stretch marks. So they think that if they reduce the severity of the stretch marks, they're going to feel better about their body. 9 times out of 10, you're still not happy once you reach that point. So this is where the psychology of it all comes in, I guess.
Yeah.
This is what you and I were talking about before. Like, I have stretch marks. Do you have any?
Yeah, when I got mine when I was 14. I remember, because I mean, I've got childbearing hips, and I got them when I was 14, and I remember them coming up. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was so ashamed at the time. I was like, no, I'm never going to be able to wear a bikini again. I can't let anyone see my hips. I tried bio oil at the time. That was what got rid of them.
Yeah. No.
Still have them 10, you know, a few years later. But now, I guess, I don't know, like, only the last few years have I really gone like, they're there.
Yeah.
They don't define who I am or make me hate myself. They're just there. Like, would I like my body more if they weren't there? Probably not, to be honest.
Which is a really good mindset, and not one that most people have, right? I think it also depends on what area these things are in, how easy they are to hide on the day-to-day. You know, women who have had multiple pregnancies in a short period of time, for example, their stomach might be covered in it. So it's probably more difficult for someone in that kind of circumstance. And also, how you got them kind of dictates how you feel about them.
Yeah, very true.
If you had a pregnancy, there's a good chance that you're going to own it, in terms of, I got a child out of this, and my body was able to do a bloody amazing thing. Whereas maybe if you put on 20 kilos when you were 18,
it might be a bit different. Yeah. Really, or like, I had a friend who was a bodybuilder, and he just grew very fast.
Yeah.
And he had them like all across here. Like, I feel like in that, I mean, they don't look great, you know, especially like the really red ones, and like obviously on the arm, they get easily irritated. Yeah. But I mean, you got huge biceps, so
they distract.
You know, you pay for what you get, you know. Just get a tattoo over them, it'll be fine.
That's it. Well, see, you could definitely sell that, Dak. You know what?
I mean, I would love stretch marks if it meant I could have biceps. So
hey, you've got some decent biceps. I've seen them. But you know what's interesting about your comment about bodybuilding, actually, and something I didn't really know a huge amount about in terms of stretch marks, but corticosteroids and steroids in general can actually weaken the collagen. It can kind of lead to thinning of the skin and that sort of jazz, which you know, it goes both in the sort of bodybuilding community and also for the poor people who have things like eczema and psoriasis and that sort of jazz, who have to use topical corticosteroids. That can increase your risk of developing stretch marks as well, which I didn't realize. And they're actually doing some research at the moment on whether or not internal stress or, you know, psychological stress can have a similar impact, because if your cortisol levels in your body are chronically high, they think that there may be a knock-on effect in terms of skin repair, stretch marks, that sort of jazz. So I think there's a lot more time and research that'll go into that, but it could be fast tracked because of the lovely COVID pandemic.
Yeah, true. People have a lot of time now. Yeah, everyone's stressed. Everyone needs an answer. Just give me big biceps and we'll be fine.
That's it. But yeah, I think it does come down to a few things, doesn't it? It's like, how did you get the stretch marks, and how do you feel about that experience? And does that sort of push you in one direction or the other? Like, I know that my stretch marks came up when I started training a lot. Because my shape completely changed. So I stayed about the same scale weight for the vast majority of my adult life, but my body composition changed really significantly when I got heavy into training. And I started getting stretch marks in, you know, the glute, thigh area, those sorts of areas often do come up for girls. And I was never really overly concerned about them. When they came up, I think being pale helps a little bit as well, because they
hide well.
Once they go white, they're just not overly noticeable. Whereas I think with darker skinned people, they can be more noticeable. And like you mentioned before, when they're really red, particularly when they're fairly new, they can be quite a bit more noticeable. But have you spoken to many of your clients about how they feel about their stretch marks? Because I've had quite a few as well. But
it's actually really interesting, because you've got half people don't really care. They're just you know, they're there. It's a part of their life, and then the other half hate them. And it's just really interesting, because I guess they don't really affect your life. I mean, you know, when you want to, because I guess, well, obviously it depends where they are. You know, I've heard of people having stretch marks on their chest, and that, I think that would affect me more emotionally than one on my hips, because obviously, you know, it's a lot more showy.
It's visible a lot of the time, right?
Not that I show my chest a lot, but you know.
People are more likely to notice it.
Yes, exactly. I think it's really interesting, because I guess it's exactly like you said. I think it depends on how you got them, and obviously I think it depends on how you view yourself as well. If you already dislike who you are as a person, or you dislike your image, I think any flaw or any 1% other than perfection is going to be so exacerbated, and you're going to do whatever you can to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it definitely blows things up. I got an interesting one for you. So I've got stretch marks and I've got a little bit of cellulite. I hate my cellulite, but my stretch marks don't bother me at all. Basically, they're the same thing. They're both just issues with a layer of skin created by two different circumstances. But I think because for such a long time cellulite was associated with being overweight and that sort of jazz, I think that has skewed the way people think about cellulite and made it more negative than the way people think about stretch marks, because stretch marks are probably most commonly associated with pregnancy, bodybuilders, that sort of jazz.
Yeah, more positive than negative.
That's it. Isn't it weird though how
they're very similar.
Very, very similar afflictions, we'll call it. In almost
conditions.
That's it, but in almost identical areas have the ability to affect your mindset so differently.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I definitely, when I was younger, I hate, this is going to sound really stupid. You know, when you have that little, it's actually your quad, you know, that little bump above your kneecap?
Oh, yeah.
When I was younger, I hated that. I wanted to get rid of it, and I did exercises to get rid of it. I hated it. Don't ask me why. I mean, I obviously didn't like who I was, but the little bump on my knee was the one thing that I fixated about. That was my only problem. I had cellulite. I mean, I have cellulite now, and I have stretch marks now, but it's just that bump above my knee just changed. You know, once I got rid of that, I would be great. I would be perfect.
It is. It's really, really bizarre, the things that we fixate on. But doesn't it tell more of a story about how society is evolving than anything else, right? Like back when you had that issue with your knee, was it more a culture of skinny was better? Like you should just aim to be skinny. Whereas
like
now
10, 15 years ago.
that's it. Whereas now the push is to be strong. The ideal image of a woman is very different now
Big legs.
to even 10 years ago. Big butts, big legs. Imagine
or like BBL.
Yes, Brazilian butt lift. But
Big.
imagine, can you imagine talking to someone from the 70s about, one day you're going to want to have a big ass and you're going to want to have all of this stuff. There's no, like, it's just changed so significantly over that period of time.
Just fashion.
That's it. And I think it's where we have to start trying to normalize this stuff. And I know that word gets thrown around all the time. And Dak and I aren't like, we're not big on following the trends.
What is normal? What is normal?
But we're kind of like, this one I think we both have to back, right? Like we do need to normalize the things that can affect you no matter your age, your shape, your it really is something that's going to affect anyone and everyone. And the more and more we pretend it doesn't affect people, the more we Photoshop images, and the more we use filters to make sure you can't see any cellulite or push our butts out so you can't see the dimples, the more we're enforcing that it's not okay to have any of these things. It's okay to not love them. It's just okay to think that there's something wrong with you, or that it somehow
devalues you.
Exactly right.
Especially something that you have no control over.
That's it. So how do we go about normalizing this shit, Dak?
Well, I think talking about it would definitely help. Talking about it and being honest, being honest about that you have these, you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everyone's got parts of their body that they don't like about themselves. But I think it's like, just because you have something on your body that you don't like doesn't mean that you have to hate yourself, doesn't mean that you have to change who you are to get rid of it. I personally think that like the bigger good body image is better. I think like 20 years ago was Kate Moss, and now it's big and beautiful, and I think that's great, because there are a lot of people, that are bigger than they would like, but that doesn't really devalue who they are and how beautiful they are. I think stretch marks are just, they're normal. Everyone has them. Anyone says that they don't, chances are they do have them, or they're
maybe
just
they
a
can't
little bit
see
ashamed.
them. They're hidden somewhere.
Exactly. They're hidden. They're just behind them. Yeah.
But it's true. If we could just start refocusing our energies on the health and well-being side, these things would start to become less and less of an issue. They're not going to disappear, but they would become less and less of an issue. What if we set our viewers a challenge? What if I set our viewers a challenge to not post any filtered photos for the month of September? So I don't care about funny filters on your face and all of the rest of it. What we're aiming for here is to get our crew to start showing people that normal is okay. You don't have to take a photo of your complete worst situation. You don't have to do a close-up of your cellulite. I'm just saying, let's encourage you to be you.
Yeah, 100%. I think filters are okay. I don't think filters are a bad thing, but I think if you're always using a filter and you always try and plump up your lips or bring in your waist, edit your photos, add this, add that, I think it changes who you think you are, and then you kind of build that persona, and then you kind of get worried about people seeing the real you, and then you just have to keep, and then it just grows. So I think I think that's an awesome challenge, and I'll do it as well.
We're throwing it 100%. Out there, guys. We're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. We're gonna
show us your stretch marks.
That's it. Just own it. Like, we're not asking you to do anything different to what you would normally do on social media. Just don't put the filter over it to smooth out anything that you think or you deem is unacceptable. let's own it, let's normalize it, let's make other girls feel comfortable about the fact that they have it, other girls, guys, whoever you are, about the fact that they've got it, and just, you know, start moving in the right direction.
100%, 100%.
We got this.
Yes. Awesome. No. Very excited. Very excited. Yeah, let's normalize it. Let's normalize stretch marks and cellulite and all the little all those little minor details that make us who we are as a person.
That's it. That's it. All righty, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This has been our stretch marks / everything else topic.
Stretch marks with a dash of other things.
Which is just what you've come to know and love about on the DL, right? So please shoot us any questions, comments, like, share, subscribe. We really want to get out there, and we want to give the general population the genuine practical approach to health and fitness, guys. So help us do that.
Spread the word. Share the shit out of us.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.